welcome back to my channel. This is Priyanka. Gratulerer med dagen Norge, which means happy birthday Norway. Today is Norway's happy birthday. It's National Day of Norway and it's 17th of May and everybody is in a celebration mood. Too bad it's raining outdoors. We couldn't see the parade. It got cancelled because of COVID-19 situation. But had it been like that, it would have been an amazing time. I would have got an opportunity to go to the King's Palace and see the parade. But nonetheless, today is a very special occasion and people dress in their traditional national dress, which is bunad. A lot of females dress up in bunad, which is a beautiful dress, which is hand woven, full of hand embroidery and silver embellished ornaments on top of that, and it looks absolutely stunning. Like everybody is like waving the national flags, singing the national song, dressed up in the traditional attire, and celebrating with their friends and family. It's a beautiful day and it's a national holiday as well, so you don't have reasons to complain. So I thought on this special occasion I should make a video about frequently asked questions regarding Norway, because I've seen many people who have recently moved to Norway or in the process of moving to Norway constantly coming up with these repetitive questions regarding bank IDs, regarding rent, regarding locations. Not many of these frequently asked questions are being asked time and again. So I thought probably I should make a video specifically focusing upon frequently asked questions while moving to Norway. So let's begin with today's video. Before beginning today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, because if you want more of cool content from my life here in Norway, and if you want to know more of cool stuff from what is going on in Norway, you will have to like and subscribe to my channel. So like and subscribe to my channel for more of cool content right from my life here in Norway. So today's video is frequently asked questions while moving to Norway. Let's begin. The first thing that you need to know when you're moving to Norway is that if your residence permit has been approved and if you have not moved to Norway yet, but you're in the process of moving to Norway, so I would like to tell you guys that you need to know about P number. P number is your personal ID number, and whether you are a permanent resident, temporary resident or a citizen, everybody in Norway has a unique P number. It's your identity number. It's a unique identity number. And if you're coming on a work permit in any of these categories, you need to have a P number. How to get these P numbers? Well, once you land in Norway, you're supposed to fix a politi appointment, which is police appointment, get yourself registered in their national population system and get yourself a P number, because without P number you cannot do anything in Norway. You cannot make any transactions, you cannot process anything. So P number is the first step which you have to take care of once you land in Norway. One thing to keep in mind is that your P number and your residence card, both these things will be sent to you via post, and your P number can take up till a week to be received. So what you need to do is that in this meantime, wherever you are staying, be it an Airbnb, be it your friends, be it a family, be it an acquaintance, wherever you are staying, make sure that the post box of that place carries your name on top of it. Get your name included on the post box. Else what happens is, if they fail to detect your name on top of the post box, it will be sent back to UDI and it will only delay the process further. So keep that in mind. Now let's talk about bank ID. What is bank ID? Well, bank ID is a unique digital ID that everybody in Norway has. Without this bank ID, you cannot perform most of the transactions in Norway. You need it to access public healthcare system. You need this to access income tax, to make financial transactions, to access NAV, which is their employee and labor welfare administration here, and to seek jobs. So without bank ID, most of your banking transactions you're not going to be successful. So you need bank ID, which is your unique bank ID, digital ID here in Norway, to make most of your online transactions. So getting a bank ID is something that you should be definitely looking forward to and taking care of the moment you reach here in Norway. If you're coming to Norway on a short duration, then you will get a D number instead of a P number, which serves the same purpose, but then it's a D number because it's for short duration. Now let's talk about how to get a bank ID. Well, first and foremost, you need to approach a Norwegian bank here in Norway to get a bank ID, but obvious. And you need to carry a couple of important documents with you in order to get a bank ID. They are primarily your valid residence permit card. Number 2 is your passport, and number 3 is your P number, which is your unique identification number. So you need to carry these 3 documents in order to get your bank ID. But there can be a challenge for people like us who are coming from Southeast Asia, like countries like India, which don't have biometric chips in their passport, because most of the banks here in Norway require your passport to carry a biometric chip. So if you're not coming from a country like US or Canada, which these countries have biometric chips, but from India, countries like India which don't have a biometric chip, most of the banks will reject. Chances are you will get rejected. So what we did was we approached DNB Bank. DNB is Norway's largest bank, and they do accept passports without biometric chip. But the thing here is that you will have to wait for quite a bit to receive your bank ID. Almost 10 weeks of waiting time can be there, which is 2.5 months for you to receive your bank ID. So you need to be prepared for that in case you're coming from India and applying to DNB. But the good part is that if you look up DNB and their customer service and their online website, most of the information is available in English. So regardless of the fact whichever part of the globe you're coming from, DNB is a very user-friendly bank for non-Norwegian speaking natives. But if you're coming from different countries like probably US or Canada that carry biometric chips, the process can be a bit easier for you possibly, and maybe the waiting time can be lesser for you. But if you're coming from India, follow these steps for a hassle-free process. Since I have spoken about bank IDs, it is important for me to address the issue of bank account as well, since both of them are interrelated to each other. And if you approach any bank here in Norway and ask them to open a bank ID, it is important for them that they are able to retain you as a customer. Otherwise, why will they open a bank ID for you if you not have a bank account with them? So until unless you're a customer to a bank, they're not going to open your bank ID if you don't have a bank account with them. I hope that makes sense to you. So DNB can take up till 10 weeks, which is not really an ideal situation of waiting time, which is like 2.5 months. It can be a lot, especially if you're new to a country and you're on a work permit and on a salary, because you need to manage accounts to get your salary, and it can be quite a cumbersome process to manage account and budgets on a monthly basis, see where the money is coming from, how to do it. So what my husband did in this situation was, while he was waiting for his bank ID from DNB to arrive, he simultaneously in the meanwhile opened a bank account without bank ID with Spare Bank 1. This is one bank that was able to provide my husband a bank account without a bank ID, and he received his bank account within a week with the same documents. He had to present his valid residence card, he had to present his passport, and he had to present his P number, which is his unique personal number. So these 3 documents will be asked of you wherever you go for your bank ID as well as your bank account. So what you can do in the meanwhile is, if you're coming from India like me and my husband, while you have applied for your bank ID at DNB, in the meanwhile, if you want your transactions to carry on, you can open a bank account with Spare Bank 1 and keep it active to receive your salaries and manage your monthly budgets. Housing, rent, property, accommodation, how to go about these things. A lot of questions, a lot of queries regarding these topics have been frequently coming on my feed, and I have been seeing these queries occurring repetitively, time and again, frequently. So I thought it's an important topic to talk about accommodation, how to go about accommodation. Well, if your work permit has been approved, but if you have not moved to Norway yet, but you're in the process of moving to Norway, my suggestion to you would be that start looking for rental accommodation, rental properties online. Regardless of the fact whichever part of the world you're moving from, start looking for rental accommodation online on these 2 portals. They are fin.no and hybel.no. These 2 websites are mainly used for rental accommodation online here. So start looking and searching for properties, shortlist properties, so that it makes your life easier when you're here. Because what will happen eventually once you start shortlisting properties out here is that in Norway, you're supposed to open a joint bank account, a joint bank deposit account along with your landlord. It is mandatory. And in that joint bank account, you're supposed to deposit 3 months of security, 3 months of security rent to your landlord in that joint account. But the catch here is that Even for opening that joint bank account with your landlord, you need to have a bank ID. And if you're coming from a country like India, like me, and which is taking you around like 10 weeks to process, you will not be able to open this joint account with your landlord. So how will you get your accommodation? How will you get your apartment? Well, what you can do is you can follow what we did here, is that before moving to Norway, look up these websites that I said, fin.no and hybel.no, and try talking to your landlord. Tell him that your passport does not have a biometric chip and it can take you around 10 weeks to get your bank ID. And if you guys can work around an alternative solution and work around the problem. So what happened with us was, our landlord told us that if my husband's firm can provide a guarantee letter for these 3 months on his behalf, then he will be fine with it. So exactly my husband did the same. He went to his firm, he asked for a guarantee letter for 3 months, which was provided to a landlord, and in the meanwhile he was happy, and eventually he did end up opening a joint bank account, and he did deposit 3 months of security in that. But for those 3 months, till the time he did not have a bank ID, he was able to present a guarantee letter from his firm. So try to do this. It might be helpful for you. So this is my tip for you. So if you're trying to look for accommodation, try to work it online, so that by the time you're here, your life, your life is pretty much sorted and, easier by the time you're here in Norway, and you don't really have to scratch your head and go around running issues. Also, I see a lot of people asking these questions, that where should we live? Zone 1, Zone 2, within the city, outside the city? Please suggest which is the best place to live. Well, my most sincere and generic advice to you would be, live at a place which is well connected with public commutation. Because public commutation in Norway, in Oslo especially where I live, is very well connected. All the buses, trams, ferries and the metros are very easily accessible. So try using them. Also, if you're coming from another country, then let me give you a heads up that taxis are there in Norway, but they are very expensive. So I don't really see people using taxis a lot until and unless they are reimbursed by the firm or there is an emergency going on. Usually people depend on buses, trams, metros and ferries a lot. So try to feed that in your mind, that taxis is not something that people usually use here until unless reimbursed by the firm or an emergency. People usually use other modes of commutation. So no matter where you live, make sure it is well connected with public commutation. Also, it depends, it's all a matter of perspective. If you want to live within the city like me, but I live in an apartment, because within the city, you will get apartments that are smaller, but then if you want to access all kinds of amenities, all kind of facilities, then you can live within the city, because I have been always a city girl, so I love living within the city. Else, if you want to save money, you can go and live in the outskirts in a bigger independent property, independent houses, but then you will have to, the facilities and amenities will be restricted. So it depends what is your priority. If you want to live within the city, you will have to compromise in terms of the size of the apartment or size of your property. But then if you go outskirts, you will get a bigger house, but then you will be restricted in terms of facilities and amenities. So it all depends on your budget and your personal preference. Now, since I've already told you that taxis are very expensive here in Norway and you need to avoid them as much as possible until unless you're in a dire need to hire one or there is an emergency, try to make most of public communication system out here, because it's very well connected. So if you're coming for the first time from abroad to Norway in Oslo, then chances are that you will hear about Router app. Router app is a very popular app here in Oslo for buying public commutation tickets. But the thing is, for accessing and operating this Router app, you need to have a Norwegian bank account. And this Router app does not accept international cards. So if you don't have a bank account, how will you access the public commutation system is the question. Well, what you can do in this situation is that till the time your bank account arrives, you can visit your nearest convenience store like 7-Eleven. Yeah, you can visit these convenience stores and you can buy router cards. These router cards will cost you around 50 crowns and you can get a top up done depending upon your requirement, whether a daily top up or a weekly top up or a monthly top up. Until the time your bank account arrives, you can get your top ups done and you can access the commutation system. This is what usually tourists do, and you can also do till the time your bank account arrives. And once it arrives, you can access your Router app and buy tickets. So I hope all these questions and all these queries that you had in your mind have been solved, because I addressed to all the main points and all the main queries that I believe are significant and can hold a lot of importance while you're moving here in Norway. And I took them, I addressed them, and I did whatever I could to help you guys. And if you find this video anyhow helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. This is Priyanka signing off. Until my next video, bye bye.